Hi guys, welcome to Techpoint Africa Podcast. It is a beautiful day in the sometimes beautiful city of Lagos. For once, it's not raining this week, so we are glad about that. And my name is Oganerum Oneibu. I'll be your host for today, and I have
Chimbo's room.
Yeah, and Bulu.
yes, at least he didn't say it's a tech group. I
I
bet you a
am
tech
not. I
group,
am not. I'm just,
so that it will not be you, because that's what they used to do. They just call you tech group, and the next thing billing will just fall out.
they will not even try that. I mean, look at me now.
But
I'm the one that should be billing people.
okay, let's move on from that. Let's move on. So, recently there was a new movie released on Netflix called Jagun. Jagun. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, very correct. Jagun, the warrior.
Okay. It was directed by Tokpe Adebayo and Adebayo Tijani. It has actors like Femi Adebayo, Tokpe Adebayo. I'm sure you're probably wondering why we are talking about this right now. Chingozrim and Bolu were wondering why we are talking about where we're going to be talking about
Still
it.
wondering, actually.
Yes. So, Emmanuel, yes, I'm calling you out. If you're watching this, I can see that I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out right now. Emmanuel says we should discuss the VFX. So there's been a lot of things, a lot of criticisms about the VFX going around social media. And we decided to watch the film yesterday, and I think I can certainly agree that the VFX it wasn't all that.
Well, I am not a VFX specialist, but I think I have watched enough movies in my time to say that the VFX is better than. I mean, it will be in the top 3 movies with the best VFX in Nigeria.
Top 3.
Yes, top 3.
Who are the other top 2?
Other top 2. My point exactly. So it's probably the best. I just didn't want to.
How many Nigerian movies do you watch in a year?
How many Nigerian movies do I watch in a year? Not much, but I know for a fact. Okay, not for a fact, but I know that we rarely have Nigerian movies that require that level of VFX.
Do you know or you think?
I know.
Are you
because
sure?
Based on the story, we've read how many. Okay, so actually, I'll still say top 2 or top 3 because I know some other Nigerian movies that have pretty good VFX. I think we had some in The Second King of Boys. We had some in I think it's the Brotherhood. Yes, Brotherhood was also good, and then we also had some in Anikulapo. So
4.
yeah, so top 5.
Yeah, I think we had.
By the time we
So
add
I will
others,
rate it. I think I will put it at number 3.
Number 3.
Because the that particular scene where everyone was frozen, what they call that scene? That scene that was slicing everybody while they
Agemo,
Agemo. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad scene. I can agree with that. And while we're talking about VFX, you can go watch the interview that I did with the guy that did the VFX for Anikulapo. Abi, did I pronounce it well? Sorry to every Yoruba person. I'm not Yoruba.
No,
God.
it's correct. They are not, the pronunciations are as simple as that. Anikulapo, just tiny. Those are just little, but it's correct.
Okay, so let's move on to the stories we have for today. First up, we have MTN's South Africa's branch to pay 5.2 million before the second half of the year. Chingozrim, you are the one talking to us about that. What's happening in South Africa and MTN? But I think we have 2 stories with MTN, but let's start with the money they have to pay.
So one first story is that they're going to pay 5.2 billion before the end of the year or by the end of the year for unused broadband, basically. So they cut broadband, they were unable to use it, so they are going to pay for that. That's it. The second part is they are receiving an investment, or the fintech, MoMo is receiving an investment from Mastercard. So, yep.
Okay.
I thought they were acquiring. Oh, like they were buying.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
had a
get it now.
minor stake.
Yeah, buying a stake from, which is basically getting an investment.
So what is like the important bits to this story that we actually need to know?
For the broadband story, unused
Unused.
and
Sorry.
unused broadband is probably because either they didn't have the reasons are not yet stated, sure, but it could be either the users couldn't use it. You've seen South
Oh,
Africa.
people actually bought the broadband.
no,
like,
no, like MTN, of course.
okay.
It's MTN. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
spectrum they got,
So does that mean they could not like sell it? Like people did not subscribe.
I suppose.
So
Maybe they
what?
didn't have enough
So
customers.
what I think,
Mm.
what I got from the entire story was that ICASA, that is South Africa's communication and blah blah blah, basically their NCC, so did an auction where they basically auctioned broadband spectrum. MTN bought, Airtel, I think Telcom bought, and some other South African telcos bought. So when they bought it, I mean when they auctioned for it, it's like you don't pay immediately. You
Oh.
yeah. So when they auctioned, they got the bid and everything, but they didn't pay, and they didn't get the spectrum.
They didn't pay and they didn't get it.
So you've not paid now, so
Yeah.
you can't use the spectrum that you paid for, that you've not paid for.
Okay.
I don't. Are you getting?
So what
the-
are they now paying for? What
So
what
they are
asking?
paying now to get the spectrum that they've not used.
Oh. Okay.
Exactly.
How do I feel confused?
Okay, let's use an everyday item. You go
Okay.
to an auction. They're auctioning maybe artwork.
Oh,
You
small chops.
say as much as you go to an auction. Let's use Bolu's example now. Yeah. So you have you want to sell auction small chops. You put let's say you're the one bidding for the small chops. You bid. You've won the bid.
Okay.
Now when you win the bid, you're supposed to pay.
Oh yes.
Yes, so that you can get your small chops back.
Mhm, mhm.
But you now decide that okay, you are going to pay 5 months later, so that you can get your small chops 5 months later.
Mm.
So that is basically maybe sort of what I don't know if they decide not to pay at that point, but it seems they had not paid for the spectrum that they bought, so they could not get it. They could
Yes,
not use it. So that is
So
basically
now they are paying for that one that they've not used
exactly.
to now use afterwards.
Exactly.
But I think the really interesting part is this Mastercard's investment. I think we're talking about it and realize that Mastercard actually also has investment in Airtel's fintech side as well.
Interesting.
I think Airtel Money. So, like, is this a good thing or because if they start having stake in everybody, right? I mean, and it's a significant amount of stake they're getting, right? Or maybe to me, maybe I'm the one that thinks it's significant, but I feel for some reason all these your fintechs will end up being owned by foreign. You could say they are owned by foreign companies, which is the issues we're having with most of our startups today. So is there an upside to this or is there a downside?
Of course.
What's the upside?
They are getting a minority stake. Mastercard comes with operational experience that MTN doesn't have in that space. So they get money to push their operations. They also get, so we don't know exactly how much stake they are getting, but they are definitely getting a minority stake. So, like I said, operational experience. They get the Mastercard. Basically, get the Mastercard experience.
But what's in it for Mastercard?
What's in it for
why are they
Mastercard
interested?
is you are the last. Okay, so large parts of Africa are still late to digital payments. You have cases where I think the payments, about 90% of payments in Nigeria, they are done offline. So when you look at it from the perspective of a player in that space, you're like, okay, there's huge potential here.
True.
You go across all the countries that MTN also has a presence in. It's the same situation where they have we have anywhere from, let's say, 60 to 70, 80% of payments still done in cash. So you could say that okay, there's a lot of potential, and they also get to make money really. So it's Mastercard is they are not a VC, even though they do that, but they are not a VC. So they're not just investing because they feel like throwing money around. So I guess it also shows that despite, for Nigerians, we frequently say that there are too many fintechs, But even with all of that, there's still room for
Yeah, there's still a
growth.
gap. Yeah.
in the space.
Yeah. So you said we don't know exactly how much stake they got, yeah, and you're saying, and we also said that they also have stake in Airtel Money, yeah.
Yep.
So what happens if they suddenly? This is just me speculating here, and it's not going to happen. I'm just speculating. But what if suddenly they decide that okay, they want to increase their stake, and they steadily increase their stake to the point where they become majority shareholders or can take over?
It's a very
Isn't that a competition problem waiting to happen?
so it's a very real possibility.
Yes, it is.
It's a very real possibility. True. But I mean, increasing your stake is a unilateral decision. It's something you say, okay, I want to do, but it has to be ratified by every other shareholder. And considering you're a minority shareholder, of course, there are other ways. I'm not a finance professional, but there are other ways you can slowly increase your stake to the point where people really don't have any choice than to pay attention to you. There's always that. But will it be a competition problem? I'm trying to think of how it could possibly be a competition problem. So, by the way, Visa, Mastercard, they have investments in some of our largest fintechs.
Exactly.
So, InterSwitch, I think
Flutterwave too.
Paystack, Flutterwave, like name any of the
They
large
have their
fintechs
hands
they have.
everywhere.
They have some form of involvement, which
Nice one.
makes sense considering their size. Will it ever become a competition issue? Well, that's where your government has to step in if it ever gets to that point. But then they're not just buying this stake in maybe their Nigerian subsidiary alone, or maybe Airtel's.
All over the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. It's possible. I can't say it's not. It's possible.
Okay.
And if it happens, is it really a bad thing?
I mean, I think that's just for me. It's just too much power. I mean, they're already the
Yes.
biggest card
Like-
schemes in the world, and then they take over your mobile money.
Take over your fintechs.
I mean, share this money. Let other
I
people
mean-
too.
I can look for how to raise money and buy it from them and buy stakes in MTN. That's your assignment. Look for how to raise money, either through government support or I don't know. Maybe look for another person who can front you the money. Shall I look for money?
Don't worry. I'll take that.
Crypto
assignment to
money.
heart. It's
Crypto money.
Only crypto. I pity you.
Okay, so let's move on to the next story. I think King Gazun is still going to help us with that. So Jumia has recorded reduction in losses in Nigeria, which is good news, yes. And they might also be unrolling new services in Egypt. So what's happening with that?
Reduced operating losses are no longer a new thing for Jumia. It's something they've been working on, I think, for the last 3-4 quarters, working very hard at ensuring their operating expenses go down. They are losing less money because for a very long time, the popular refrain was, Jumia is losing money, Jumia is losing money. And they're working very hard at doing that as they push for profitability. So it's hardly a new development, but they also lost 1 million customers
That's it.
in the
wow.
in the last quarter. They lost 1 million customers in the last quarter, and they gave a few reasons. The normal story we've been hearing, macroeconomic conditions. So the FX contraction in Nigeria, for example, was one reason they give. In Kenya also, which is one of their markets, Kenya has had, I can't remember the exact numbers, but they've also experienced similar inflation to Nigeria. So it has affected purchasing power, obviously, of consumers, which just means they are less likely to purchase certain items. And it has like knock-on effects. So yes, it has led to... so there's reduction in operating losses, but there's also reduction in sales, there's reduction in advertising, there's reduction in practically everything. So yes, apparently hand is meeting everybody
I'm telling you.
in
And
this
I
space.
particularly feel bad for Jumia because they spent a lot, right, when it comes to like advertising and all those things. I think last year, was it Q1 or Q2, they spent like 22 million dollars on advertising. They cut it down a lot this year, right?
You said
And
70% or
yes, and it makes sense that yes, you spent so much then. I believe they acquired a lot of customers as well. But then this year came, and this year came with its wahala, and all the economic troubles, the economic realities. And now after spending that much, and then you now cut spending this time, now that you're not supposed to like be enjoying the fruits of your labor,
so. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say well,
The African
Nigeria happened.
governments happen to you.
And I don't
Some
know. I
people
don't know
will
how
have-
I feel
Some people will have a different opinion to that.
to what I said, right?
Yes. So I've heard people say it that, of course, you can blame companies all you want, but
I'm really not blaming them.
No,
It's- yeah.
yeah, you're not. But like you could, a lot of companies could have actually seen that things were going to get bad, right? A lot of people say that it was. It's not like it was sudden. It's not a sudden development.
Well, I
right?
really don't see the way out
Let's
for what they do. I don't see the way out.
Of course, it's not like you up and leave, but it's so. For example, I see you walking in the middle of third mainland. I don't need anybody to tell me that you're going to die very soon. So if I see you die, if someone sees that you are lying on the road, crushed with your brain splattered, sorry, that was
You
graphic.
have to be so vivid.
Yeah, but if someone sees you, the person shouldn't be surprised. You were walking in the middle of the road. So if you're operating in Nigeria, I think in Nigeria, in Africa, because since last year we've had it's either inflation in Egypt, Kenya, even South Africa, right? So we were talking about MTN earlier and the unused broadband. So electricity load shedding has forced a lot of people to start rationing the way they use their data, right? So some people are now having to wait up. In fact, poverty as well is making some people to wait up at night to use night plans
I remember
to
when I
browse.
used to do that.
Right? That shows you that basically the economies across Africa are not.
But here's the thing, yeah. You knew that it was going to get bad, but you didn't know exactly how bad it was going to get. So, for example, now with Nigeria, you probably could not guess that they would start the floating naira thing. It was not something that was on our radar. We knew that 12 subsidy was coming. Everybody that was going to be removed. Everybody knew that it was coming. Everybody knew that. But things like the floating naira, things like how the exchange rate has like.
So what I think a lot of Nigerian businesses did not prepare for was the sky high rate of the dollar. But a lot of them have been clamoring for a unification of the naira. So you hear people say Nigeria defies economics, and others say no, it doesn't defy economics. It's just that you do one thing, but you're expecting another. Some people have always wanted this unification of the naira for obvious reasons, because it makes it easier for you to, or it should make it easier for
thank God
you
you added it
to
should.
get your FX supplies. But really, for Jumia, I think they have like their history that they were probably looking at, and they knew that maybe things like this could happen, that they could lose a lot of money. But I mean, it's not all bad. It's probably going to take them a while to get to profitability, which is what they are pushing for.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. But yeah, to the second part of that story, they are launching buy now pay later services or they could be launching buy now pay later services in Egypt. And so why do I say could? Because they haven't said we are doing this tomorrow. They've been working on Jumia Pay and trying to sort of position Jumia Pay as an alternative for their users for, I think, the last 1 or 2 years now. And they have, according to the report, they have been conducting some trials, building partnerships in Egypt. They have about 10 partnerships with banks and fintechs in Egypt. So the idea is to offer buy now pay later services to third parties through the Jumia Pay app. So they're just going to be like, maybe like a carbon in a way. They are connecting you to these guys. You get the money. They take a cut of it, and I think it's an interesting play that could see them significantly increase Jumia Pay revenues, because Jumia Pay revenues have been dropping. They haven't been promoting some services like airtime recharge, data all of that because they say it costs a lot of money for them to promote those services, and then they can't recoup it. So they're trying to promote services that have higher that bring higher economic value to them. So by launching buy now pay later services, I think they could be able to drive significant growth because, of course, they're starting in Egypt. There's a way, I don't know, buy now pay later is like loan. Egypt is predominantly Muslim.
Yeah.
So you need to consider all of that. But I think it could help to boost their revenues. And I'm assuming that the trial in Egypt, they'll launch in other markets shortly because that's what they did this Jumia Pay on delivery. So yes, you have Jumia Pay as your payment option, but you can also do pay on delivery, which has been probably the most effective payment method for delivery companies in Nigeria. So they've trialed Jumia Pay on delivery in Kenya, and they said they recorded some success. Now I'm assuming they're going to be launching in other markets shortly. So yeah, Jumia Pay might be what helps them to just stay alive until other parts of their business picks up. So that's crossed for
Not the best to them. I want to ask something as well. We want to try as much as well to keep this podcast as short as possible.
I think we still have time. She has not waved the.
She will soon wave it. So let's just move on so that we don't enter problem. So I think Bolu is taking this next story. I believe Nairametrics released should I call it an expose or a deep dive? What should we call it now?
All of them article.
Yeah, they published an article
Story.
about how loan apps in Nigeria have been forcing their agents to onboard users or give the users that didn't apply for loans. So, Bolu,
yes.
take it away.
So, according to the Nairametrics article, loan apps are now forcing people to take loan by force, even when they don't need it. Right? It was a very interesting story, and it was the people working in those companies that were revealing these things. Talking about the kind of targets they needed to meet. Right? So what they did was that they give them targets of 30 people must borrow money today, whether they need it or they don't need it. So targets like that, and then they now give them phone numbers. I think about 217, right? And you have to call everyone and make sure that you meet your target. Really weird stuff, right? I think some of those companies, there was Palm Credit,
Express Cash.
There was Express Cash. There was X Cross Cash. There was Easy Buy.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, right? I think Palm Credit is Palmpay, right?
Is it?
Is it Palmpay?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I was wondering, where do they get these phone numbers? Then I'm like, there are sales tools that give you contacts of people you could actually sell to, right? I know for emails, but I don't know for phone numbers.
I mean, people could. So almost every loan app that I know about, you have to input your phone number. So just for sign up, and sometimes I just sign up to fintech startups or fintech apps just to do small research. So that's my phone number going around, and a lot of people have it.
Could it also be possible that people who haven't signed up are getting called?
Of course, someone was about to scam me during NYC. Nigga that I did not know from anywhere sent me text message you. Hey, you've gotten a job as blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think that went around.
I had to call him.
So it's really weird, and that's not the only thing they do. So it's not just forcing you to take loans when you don't need to take loans. They also lie to you about interest rates and things like that. They tell you the interest rate is 8%, and then at the end of the day, if you borrow 100,000 naira, you'll be paying 170,000 naira, which is like 70% interest rate, which is absolutely insane.
Sorry.
You need a minute, sorry.
No, I don't need a minute. I'm just trying to understand how we went from 100 to 170%. So sorry, people that are watching you probably do math better than me. 8% per what? Per annum, right?
It wasn't stated, right?
So
but
that's the problem now.
yeah,
So
that's the problem.
Because if it's per annum, then we can easily.
But they are
do the-
short-term loans, so
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's not an annual.
No, short-term loans are done like that, and then there's I don't know what it's called, but they'll tell you
nano
it's,
loans.
yeah. And
Oh,
and
okay.
the thing is, the shorter the loan tenure, the higher the interest rate. Why am I saying exchange rate? But the shorter the loan tenure, the
Yeah,
higher. Let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah,
anyway,
but it's still very
still a
it's still
lot.
criminal when you
Yeah.
tell me my interest rate is 8%, and then
maybe
I
it's 10%
discover
or something.
not even 70,
That's like
as high
you
as
borrowed
70.
80k or 100k,
Mm.
and you're
It-
paying back 170k.
I know, and I'm thinking,
It's-
what exactly is the exchange rate? What's the loan tenure? Because that's what determines this. The reason I'm saying it, you've used the loan app. I have used the loan app, and I know what the numbers look like. You could
Mm.
probably borrow 20,000 naira, and you're paying maybe 30,000 naira back, 25,000, 30,000 naira back. So if I borrow 80,000 naira and I'm paying maybe 100 plus k, it probably is similar. So that's what I'm asking. What was the loan tenure and what was the interest rate that
Okay.
they offered?
Let me just read I think a quote from I think
One of
what one of the agents said. So he said, "Easy buy sales scripts trains agents to pitch a percentage as low as 8% to customers, whereas customer that applies for 100,000 and chose the repayment tenure of 6 months pays back over 70,000 naira as interest,
I wish you had a loan calculator
which
from maybe
is
standard.
70%. So let's say it's 8% every month. Is 8% every
You're
month
supposed to
for
pay
6
8,000
months?
naira.
Hmm?
I said you're supposed to pay 8,000 naira of that 100k.
Yes. So if we calculate that over 6 months,
8,000 times
yeah,
6.
just an assumption.
Yes.
48k.
Eh?
48.
So why are they paying 70k?
I think I get the point. They are pitching one what do you call it now?
You're pitching a particular interest
interest
rate
rate
and
Mhm.
doing something else.
So two things, yeah. Let's start with the phone numbers that they are getting. I think this has been a problem for I don't know how long, where you wake up one morning and you realize you have an account with a bank you never stepped into.
Which happened to me recently.
Yes.
I didn't know who signed me up on Palm Pay.
Yeah.
I didn't know who signed me up on Carbon.
They
So
signed you up
that's-
on carbon too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ah.
I've told you there is identity theft.
Carbon is possible. I know that I did not sign up on Palm Pay.
If you check through your emails, yeah, you could go find out. But the truth is that it's not a new thing. We've heard stories like that. But this is also kind of similar to what banks have been accused of in the past, where they give their employees targets, they have to meet these targets. And often these employees they have to employ underhanded tactics, like maybe, okay, you know what, Gracious, take this form, share it to everybody in your WhatsApp group, and then you just collect it, you create accounts. Things like this happen. People could get access to phone numbers anyhow.
They basically
Or-
did that to me during NYC.
Exactly.
This lady came up to me and was like, "Oh, we have this kenny. This it was supposed to be a savings kenny, so I'll pay a certain amount every month." By the time I finished paying and I wanted to collect my money, it took 3 months to get my money back. 1, 2, they took out some part of the money, telling me that I was supposed to pay a
Service charge.
certain something that I was not told about when when I started. So like it's just something that they usually do. Like
I mean, I now understand why the FCCPC was trying to clamp down. on them.
Uh-huh.
'Cause
I'm
why are
even
you forcing
wondering
me
why
to take
FCCPC
loan
has
when I
not
don't-
said anything about this.
So that's where I was going to. Force. When we say force, what is force? Are you cajoling them?
So
Because you can't
yes,
force me to take a loan.
so
Except you're wiring money into my account.
so
without my
yes,
permission.
there's something that I really found interesting. So apparently there's an automatic loan function on the app.
Okay.
So these agents have access to that this thing, so they can actually turn on a loan for you.
And then there's no way that I can prove that I did not do that.
Yes.
Well, some network providers that will not be named, you guys have tried to be smart with me. You'll be using your phone, the next thing you see is blah, 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 blah. Click yes. And the way the prompts are arranged is in a way that's my right hand. So if I am, if I just want to get it out of the way, I want to get it out of the way, and click it, and my 5 naira. I want to let people know that you have failed so far and you continue failing for a very long time. But yes, moving on. It's that see, this is an unethical practice here.
Honestly.
And we keep on talking about this like almost once a month, because it's a serious problem in a country like Nigeria where a lot of people need credit and they don't have a lot of credible ways of getting that credit.
True.
Yeah.
It's a very serious problem, and I don't know how it can be solved at once. I don't even think it can be solved at once, but really, it's important that it's solved, because someone's life could go south.
And we've actually seen it happen outside Nigeria. I mean, the whole 2008 financial crisis in the US was something like this, right? People that you know very well should not be taking mortgages, right? You try to convince them to. I mean, you convince them, right? We might say you are not guilty of anything, but I mean, if you think about it very
It's unethical.
Some people,
it's not even.
Not everybody has this financial acumen, right? But because of, and then the whole economy collapsed because of that. So something is.
Where I even see these things, I don't know how those guys are getting their licenses or whatever it is they are getting that allows them to operate. Because here's the thing, right? You are a business person. You're not the Kini Mafia. You're a business person and you want to make money. If you give me a loan and I cannot pay you back, bro, if you like carry my non-existent family out.
I don't know. There's some. I'm not. I wish I was very financially savvy, but there's something with debt that helps some people make money. Right? I saw something like that when I was learning about that financial crisis in the US, right? Where it doesn't even matter if those people can pay back or not, but somehow
you want to show
is there a commission?
Yes, and there's a way they can sell debt again.
Yeah, you can
stuff
sell
like all those kind of things. So maybe, but I think it's not the same thing with.
Anyway, I'm very, very sure the FCCBC has seen that.
Yes, and they'll be acting.
You should be at their doors.
Yes,
yeah.
You not get away.
They've been up and doing.
Hopefully something happens. So before we move on to the next story, so something else caught my attention in that story. So apparently some of these guys decided to protest.
Some of you guys,
the agents.
Okay.
They decided to protest, and when they tried
streets?
to protest, like maybe they went to protest in the company's headquarters. So they tried to protest. When the company got wind of them trying to protest, they told them they had to make them sign an undertaking that they would try to keep the peace, blah, 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 etc. Some people said they are not going to sign the undertaking and they went ahead to do their protest. 7 people lost their jobs.
Normal.
I'm not surprised.
So, there's a lot of things wrong in that entire...
They fired people for not even meeting the target. So you can imagine, I'll just turn loan for like 50 people every day just to keep my job.
Recycling it. I'll give you 5K today, give you 10K tomorrow.
You guys should go read the story. There's a lot of things like making people sometimes the target shifts. Today they'll tell you it's 30, next week they'll tell you it's 70. Before gracious she has been waving since. So let's move on to the next story. I don't think we're going to spend so much time on this story. So Bosun Tijani has been confirmed as Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. So I think we've talked about this.
We've talked about it before, and yes, it's it was a good thing for the tech ecosystem and stuff like that. He knows a lot, but I mean, he's also still a stranger, when it comes to things like telcos and things like that. But then, I mean, if you look back into history, fresh eyes sometimes can be a good thing, right? And Bosun Tijani as well. From my own perspective, he's a smart guy, he's an intelligent person. I mean, taking that small CC hub in Yaba to becoming like a Pan-African tech hub. So let's see what he will do. I'm wishing him all the best, more grease to his elbow. I hope the what's it called now? I mean, there's a pandemic in that. I mean, when it comes to politics in Nigeria, there's one infection that affects anybody that gets into there. I hope he can stay above those things and do well for his people.
Yeah, so what I'm really interested in is the kind of policies he's going to bring in and how he's going to like oversee what is going to happen, because there's right of way issues. There's issues with what's that
Which
tax
is
that they're supposed to pay now.
not in his control.
What's that tax they're supposed to pay? This there's this excise duty that telcos are supposed to pay. So there's a lot going on, and he has
Let me
there's
just
a
mention
lot.
what he will is of the things that he will be overseeing. So he'll be overseeing NCC, he'll be overseeing NITSTA, he'll be overseeing NIPOST. I've never heard of this before, but I'm sure Emmanuel will give us some more insights.
What's that?
Probably in the next. It's called GBB, Galaxy Backbone.
Oh, okay, those guys.
I don't know that thing. Sounds
There
like,
is satellites.
Yeah.
sounds like something that's like, it sounds like an Israeli government.
Yes.
Sure.
You also be overseeing your people, Nigerian
Comsat.
Communications Satellite Limited, which
There's NASDAQ there
if
as
you
well.
ask me, I don't know what's going on there. And it's also NIMC. So it's
Important things
it's
we
all
need to
tech,
do, yeah.
but I mean, if you have been within the tech ecosystem, you know that there are some things that
Some people still argue that Comsat should not exist since there's already NASDAQ. And all of
exactly.
that.
So I mean, someone like Bosun Tijani that comes from investments, building startups, helping startups grow and things like that, and then is now looking over going to space and Musk things.
You don't need to look over it. I mean, it's not like the previous guys you're looking at. You could decide to focus on
You not
just
say
one
so.
or two things. Huh?
Well, it's true. It's true.
You don't have to. So the way I even look at these things is, don't do everything. Just look
The
for
main things.
what you have. So right of way, the federal government doesn't have any. You can't compel the state governments to do it, but you could tell the state governments,
give them
maybe
incentives or
if
something.
you do this, we will help you with this, and maybe it can encourage them. But don't just look for maybe one or two, three things that if you do them, I think one would be that startup act, right? Making sure that it's not just another piece of legislation. There's the provision for funding, which is very important. There's a tax rebate that both companies and employees get. Then there is like establishment of hubs, training hubs across the country, which is very important to ensure that our tech development is not confined to Lagos.
Yeah.
So if you do most of what the Startup Act or Startup Bill says it's supposed to do, I think you'll be more than an okay minister, really.
Yeah.
All the best to him.
Yeah.
All the best. Yeah, so just as a follow-up, the Kenyan court has banned WorldCoin's activities
Yes.
just until the investigation is done.
Exactly. So I mean, we've been talking about WorldCoin. I think this is the third time talking about them again. So yes, they started paying people to scan their eyes because they want to create what's it called? They want to create a new should I say a new ecosystem?
Yeah,
for
digital
Exactly.
fintech.
So
Yeah.
Kenya said they started the first African country they started doing is Kenya. Kenya suspended them. Kenya said, why are you scanning out people's eyes after you already gave them license? Let us note that. But when people started shouting and this and that, Kenya to now. Well, the court has said they should pause everything for now, and investigations are ongoing. They locked down their warehouse was raided. They took all their equipment and documents. So yeah, it's a how do we say developing story. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So again, back to Kenya. They are I don't want to say they are banning TikTok because it's just a petition. Someone sent a petition to the National Assembly that they should ban TikTok. That it is
Was
causing
that you?
problems.
I'll
It's
do,
one
no, I'll
dude
do
like
Nigeria's
that.
own.
I know. Maybe you want to start.
I've
from
forgotten his
somewhere
name. It's one
else.
Kenyan name like that.
Yes,
He
I
wants
agree
them
with
to
him.
ban TikTok. But
A lot of crazy things are happening in
funny enough,
Mm.
the minister, the parliament guys said
I
that
said
no,
the-
they should not ban it.
No,
They
not
to
to
use
see
TikTok,
baddies.
kini, etc. I was just like, interesting. Then
That's why they are not doing their job.
they also said talked
Scrolling
about
TikTok. That's true.
I put phone inside the house. I'm watching baddies during
they
sessions.
also said that they should that is because it's making money for creators, blah blah blah.
What
I
are you
said,
doing there?
nice
yes,
one,
yes,
nice one.
yes, yes, yes. I beg, ban this.
That is so annoying. God. How have I ever thought of that NFC? Can you that girl? She needs help. Well, let's go on. So yeah, just as I mentioned, Uber is denying drivers' involvement in attacks in South Africa. This story is weird to me because what they are saying. So a bunch of people reported that Uber drivers attacked them. Blah 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 blah. Uber says that these people were not their drivers. That did the riders check if they're Uber drivers? Did they do all the safety kini, etc.? So they are basically moving the blame over to the riders and saying that the riders did not do their due diligence.
Can I say something? I was watching TMZ a couple weeks ago on Instagram, and there was this. It seems like a pandemic or a thing that is happening in the US. So Uber Eats drivers, you order food, leave it at the door and go. They start entering the house. In one occasion, the guy actually attacked the woman and tried to attack her child. Several allegations like that. And the same thing they are saying in this report is the same thing Uber said there, that the driver is not their driver.
Of course. Interesting. Let's not dwell too much on that. But
the thing I wanted to say might be.
What? Say it. Say
No.
it.
It's very violent.
Okay, so moving on. Moving on. Safaricom has launched M-Pesa in Ethiopia. It's supposed to help them drive revenue because they are apparently losing money in Ethiopia and it's affecting their group overall revenue.
They had to shut down some parts.
Yeah. So also Safaricom and Airtel increased transaction limits in Kenya. Yes. Yeah. I believe that's all we have for you today. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletters. Why did I say Expert and African? We have the Workaholic handled by currently Precious, but when Nifemi comes back, Nifemi will take over. Then we have our FinTech Today newsletter handled by Emmanuel, your usual host. We have our Equity Merchants, am I right?
Yes.
Handled by Chim Gosrim. And we also have our flagship newsletter, Techpoint Digest, handled by our Able Victoria. So you guys, please subscribe. You'll find the link in the description or wherever else or link in bio. Then also, don't forget, we have an event coming up at Landmark on the 21st of October, Modern Workplace Africa Conference. We're going to talk about everything work, from HR to the gig economy to horrible bosses to how to find talents. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
There's so
For
much.
those that have jobs, for those that don't,
Yep.
it's the place to be.
Yes. So go and register. You'll find the link. Just type modernworkplaceafricaconference.com and you would find the link to register. Also, thank you, our YouTube guys. All of you commenting and watching to the end. You guys are doing well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. And to our social media guys, even though I always feel like you guys don't see this because it's not social media, I'm not going to cut all this part and go and put in. But yeah, thank you guys for reading, for commenting, for liking, for watching, and all of that. Oh yeah, our audio listeners, thank you for listening as well. Which segues into Bolu. How can they find us on?
You can always find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Hayat Radio, and anywhere else you get your podcast.
Right. So thank you everybody for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.